Okay, welcome to the Preston North End view. Toothless, gutless, no fight are just some of the words used to describe on social media Preston's latest outing. Joey, glad you've joined us. You are a massive Twitter hierarchy on Preston, so delighted that you've joined us this evening to discuss this on Terrace Talk. First of all, how are you? Have you recovered from last week's game?
Yeah, just about, I think. I mean, I'm glad it was a Friday night game, so it didn't fully ruin my whole Saturday. I could just go to bed and just like forget about it. But yeah, I don't want to, because it's my first episode, I don't want to appear too much of a negative Nelly, but
You go for it.
it was dire. It was absolutely dire. I mean, the pitch didn't help. It was an icy pitch.
Yeah.
The manager actually wanted it called up, and I'm sort of wish that we sort of listened to him now. But I'm sure QPR fans were glad that they didn't listen to him. But no, it was poor. I think first half we probably had controlled the game without doing actually anything with it. But then second half I don't know, we just switched off. We didn't really have any composure. QPR just like cut through us way too easy. And, for a side, I know they obviously won the week before, but for a side that in the bottom three, you'd expect us at least at home to create more than we did. I think in our last three games, we've had a combined total of less than 1G, which is,
Yeah,
is, is pretty
bizarre.
poor. And, I just think, I mean, you look at all the stats and I don't really, follow the XG too much, but we are. I think before the game started, it said that we'd, had I think the 23rd amount of shots in the league, 22nd amount of highest XG, the 22nd worst defense in the league, which is amazing considering our start of the season where I think we were dubbed by another podcast as the Great Wall of Lancashire. Well, it's definitely not that now, and we're conceding way too many. We're letting way too many chances through, and we're actually goals are starting to dry up. So it's becoming a bit of a worry. And you're losing at home to a team down in the bottom three. I think really does cement those fears to me.
Yeah, worst goal difference outside of the bottom four, and you can't have a negative goal difference when you're sitting in eighth or ninth. But I can't weigh up Preston because I watched the Blackburn game. Obviously, it was live on Sky, and I was it could have gone either way. But credit to Preston, hung on and a great last minute goal. Then you go to Middlesbrough and play ineptly there, which, to be fair, you look at the result and go, "Oh, Middlesbrough are a good side." But then you're looking for a response, aren't you? You're looking for a response from the players, and it didn't come. Now, I suppose there's been some suggestion from some fans that the QPR game was a bit of a protest by the players, that they may have lost the dressing room. I mean, I never personally buy into that. I just think as a player you should play for whoever your manager is. But how far do you subscribe that there's a there's a problem inside Preston at the moment that's now coming out onto the pitch?
Yeah, I think Ched Evans' interview after probably suggests that's probably right because he sort of suggested that Mads Frokjar Jensen should be playing more forward, and obviously he played him out wide, and it's something that the fans agree with. So we're agreeing with the player, and it's something weird that a player, especially of his high standing, would come out and say that because it feels to me like, yeah, like you say, that he may have lost the dressing room. I think Ben Whiteman in particular is probably our best player last season. This season we've won two out of 9 games when he's played, but 6 out of 11 when he hasn't, and he's been very poor. He actually I think he got hooked up at half time actually, and I think obviously he was in his last year of his contract, and you can tell I don't think he wants to play here. And I don't think it's helping with the sort of dressing room sort of atmosphere at the minute. So yeah, I think he is losing the players. I think he's losing the fans as well. I think 70% of our fans voted for sacking him, should I say, on a forum, which I know can be especially inflated after a defeat. But it's definitely, I think he is losing them very slowly, and I know some people are sort of questioning his tactics and just the actual style of play. I think position wise, I don't think anybody would moan at our position. We don't expect to be anywhere higher. But when he came in, he said he want Deepdale bouncing. The only way they were bouncing was out the doors on Friday night, and they said about an attacking brand of play. We've yet to see it. In fact, I think 2 years ago he got appointed. He took over Frankie McAvoy, and actually, to be honest with you, I think the games are more dour than they were under him. And we are lucky to be where we are, as I mentioned with those stats. So I think when the results start going against us, the players start turning against him. I don't think there's much go in for low at the minute. And I mean, he may surprise us again because sometimes he's been in this sort of position before where you think, that he's surely it, and then he comes out and we turn it around and we play some good teams and we beat them. But this time it just feels a bit different. I just think I just don't think. I think he has lost the players this time, whereas I think previously, I think he probably was just a bit of bad form or whatever. But yeah, it's not good to watch at the minute, and I'm not looking forward to any of the games anymore, to be honest.
It's a shame then, isn't it? I mean, how much is his rotation policy, do you think, affecting the team? Because, for example, I think, is it Brown and Holmes sat out on the bench at Middlesbrough, and yet actually they've been your probably most solid performance, especially Brown, and scored some good goals in that run that you had. But then they sit on the bench, and then they're rightfully going to be annoyed coming into that game at QPR, and I don't think Holmes had a best game ever. Although did he go to right back, even though he's
and
out of position.
And that was another bizarre one. Actually, I completely forgot about it until you mentioned it, because I think he took off Frocke Jensen for him. No, sorry, he brought on, who did he bring on? Woodburn, I think it was. Sorry. But he put him at right back, and his first involvement in the game was to lead the man who then squared it across, and then QPR scored. So it was a bit of a, what was he doing that for? He took Ramsey off. Sorry, he was our only right back. Obviously Potts, and I think Potts has been our best player this season, so he was a big miss. So we can't forget that. But at the same time, I think, as you say, the rotation stuff, I don't mind it too much if it's warranted. But I think at the moment, he doesn't really know his best 11. I think that's his problem. Why he's retaining it? Because obviously, I think start of season, Mads Frockyar was banging on all cylinders, and Alan Brown's been on really good form recently, and you say Dwayne Holmes has been great all season, and I think he's been trying to fit in the sort of prime player like saying Ben Whiteman, where actually, as I say, don't know if he's sort of warranted it. And Alan Brown plays better in the centre attacking midfield position rather than a sort of defensive holding midfield position. But he can't fit all three of them together. But then also he's struggling with that holding midfield position because Ryan Ledson's been poor for a good few years. Whiteman's not performing, and Brown I just don't feel can play there. So at the moment, I think that's the sort of missing part. And we've got a lot in the creative side of things, and he's just trying to rotate those players. But we're really badly lacking in that holding midfield area.
So how many games has he got now then to prove himself? Obviously Norwich away is a tough one. I think Huddersfield as well are playing well. These are two tricky games, aren't they? Lose them both, has he gone?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I think there's already been talk that certain managers like Nathan Jones have been linked. I'm not actually 100% sure what the truth in those rumours, but I do feel like the club will be sourcing potential replacements just on the chance that does happen. We do lose the next two games because they like to be prepared for that eventuality. So yeah, I do think that he's only got a couple of games, which I think from an outside point of view, you're probably thinking, why would Preston be sacking him? They're in a fairly decent position. Although if we lose the next two, it'll probably be more towards the end of the table. But I think in the bigger picture, our form is pretty awful. 2 wins in 12. And actually style of play is just so bad, and it's losing fans. We've got for a club like Preston, we're getting 16,000 season tickets. We had the third highest away following up until I think last week. So we're taking 2,000-3,000 average to each ground. And I reckon on Saturday against Norwich, I'm going, but I think I'm the only person I know who's going, and I feel like we're going to maybe take a couple of hundred at best. And I think it'll show a real sign of that the fans are sort of losing a bit of patience with him.
Is it 70%? I know you said that earlier. I mean, I've seen a lot of people on Twitter also saying, "Look, this is pathetic. We've gone on a bad run. Every team has bad runs. You wouldn't turn on him 5 weeks ago. Why are you turning on him now?" Or even in those wins, could you see that this wasn't vintage football that you'd been promised?
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I think he's actually been quite well backed in the transfer window for a Preston manager anyway, definitely this summer. And it's his side now, and I think it's different from the previous runs where you could sort of use that excuse of he still needs to get his team, his style of play and stuff. But his style of play is actually one of the worst I've seen as a Preston fan supporting him in 20 odd years. So I think you've got to question that because yes, you might not be the best side on paper, but you can still put on a decent performance. You can still try and attack. Look at Plymouth, for example. I mean, they're not the best in terms of the quality, but they've got real intent to go forward. They've got, still playing some great football. And even though they're near the bottom of the football, at the bottom of the league, I actually think we would have preferred that, which it sounds crazy, but I feel our fans were promised that sort of attacking Brandon's play, and I feel like his arrogance and he's sort of, when it goes well, he'll take all the credit, and when it doesn't, he'll blame the players. And I feel like all that sort of thing, it doesn't work in his favour. And yeah, I think there is a lot of fans I know personally, even beyond the 70%. I think a lot of people I know who just say who've normally backed him, and when everyone else has sort of said no, I think the majority of them as well are also saying it's sort of probably we've tried the experiment, it's sort of not worked, and we've got a squad here where we feel might be able to challenge in the sort of top half, challenge the playoffs, because it's probably one of the better squads we've had in the last few years, but it's actually on the actual pitch, it's looking pretty drab.
Okay, let's get some score predictions then from you, Joey, for Norwich away. What do you reckon?
So I think I'm going to go there and enjoy a 0-2, but to them. So I'm basically going to see no goals for our side, which so I'm going to say 2-0 to them. I know them. I spoke to one of the fans yesterday actually, and they also have the same sort of issues as us with their fans wanting Wagner out, and the board being, well, actually he can still have a bit more time, so it'd be interesting. There could be quite a lot of protests going on.
Well, listen, you're a true fan travelling, mid-December all the way to Carrow Road when your team aren't playing well. Come back next week and tell us all about it. Cheers, Joey. Thanks for now. Nice one.
Thank you.
Cheers, thank you.